Welkom, dit is de podcast To Master Your Life nummer 162. Channelen met jouw engelen. Een dieptegesprek met Georgina Elford. Mijn naam is Vilna en ik heb er super veel zin in. Ja, hallo dames en mensen. Vandaag heb ik een prachtige, hele bijzondere podcast met iemand die in de UK woont. Dus we gaan hem in het Engels doen. Zij is een vrouw die ik heb ontmoet via het boek van Hermelijn van der Meijden, De 9 geheimen van de vrouw. Hermelijn had met haar een sessie gedaan en dat had mij zo geïnspireerd dat ik dacht, wauw, ik zou wel eens met die vrouw willen ontmoeten. Nou, dat is gebeurd via Zoom. Dat heeft me zo geraakt dat ik vroeg, wil jij niet in mijn podcast? Want zij is, en ik ga nu over op Engels, so she can hear it as well. She is an angelic Reiki master. She's a spiritual coach, a soul purpose mentor. Those words are beautiful. Soul purpose mentor. She does that through one-on-one development sessions, meditation, and she is so passionate about helping people with her gift of being a medium and being able to channel and talk with angels. So, very warm welcome for you, Georgina Elford. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm very, very excited and very grateful to be here with yourself and your team and those that are here to connect with us. And it's beautiful. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We've met each other through one of the sessions. I asked for a session, and we recently had that one, and that was in a good way an overwhelming experience, in the meaning that things happened. You got so much information from souls and angels that gave me so much insight and so much validation of the processes I'm going through. Mm-hmm. When you were little, was that already a part of you, that you were able to connect to other spirits or energies?
Yeah, it's something that for me is very much a part of my reality, and it always has been. And it wasn't really until I was at the higher end of my primary school years that I realised that it wasn't the case for everybody, because my sister also was able to see. So we would be able to and say, can you see them? Can you feel them? And she would tell me. So although my friends weren't able to, I did have a friend, my best friend, who is in spirit state now, but he was also able to see. And we would often see the angels that were surrounding the entire classroom. And I would reference them as the colours because I didn't know that they were angels at the time.
Did you see as colors or spirits, or what was it?
It was, to begin with, it was colors only. So it wasn't spirit themselves. It were angelic presence and ascended master energy, but always in color form. So very much I would describe that it is like the way that you would look at the auric field. There was the auric field energy, and then there was these vast, bigger than anything that I can even express now, even in my adult life, as to the size. And I would sit mesmerized in the classroom at how nobody else was looking at them. No one was talking to them. No one was looking at them and feeling them. And I found that really strange, that there would be children that would be almost within the energy of their angel, and that was seemingly completely unaware. And then as I got a little older, spirit and past loved ones began to show themselves to me. But my grandfather on my mum's side of the family transitioned the December before I was born the following year. And I didn't know that he was spirit until I was at least 8, because he'd always been with me. He'd always walked with me. And my family has a real history in a particular village in the UK. And our all buried within one churchyard. And we go back probably even before the 16th century in this particular village. So there's a real connection there. But churchyards for me as a child were one of the most beautiful, peaceful places to be, because no spirit are there, because they are with their loved ones, they are on their journeys. There would be those that were connected to my family, and I assumed that everybody could see them. And I remember saying to my mum over and over again, why don't you speak to Granddad? You know, why don't, because we called it Granddad's garden, although he had a garden as well. And I remember standing in the greenhouse with him, picking tomatoes and strawberries, you know, and things like that, collecting ladybugs. I'm not
Yeah.
sure what you would call them, but
You see her faces. Yeah.
yes, collecting those,
Yeah.
doing this all with my granddad, always throughout my life. I have never, ever not known him. And then one day, I know that it was around my eighth, it was after my eighth birthday, because we were going to his garden in the church to put flowers on for his transitioning, which was the 20th of December. And I can remember sitting there and we were putting spring bulbs in the ground and looking around and thinking, I know that everybody here, I know that this is a grave. And I knew what a grave was. I'd lost animals and pets that we'd made graves for in the back garden and things. But there was something that was so, I could feel him. I could physically feel him. If he walked past me, I could feel him brush past me. So it was so difficult. And my mum would always say, Georgie, you know, we speak to Granddad in our own special way. He's in our hearts. And I used to just think that they were bonkers. You know, I used to really struggle and think, why do you talk to him in a special way when you can just have a conversation with him? Because he was always, when he was actually sat on his headstone looking down, and he said, it's all right, it's okay, you're okay, it's okay to know, it's okay to know. And I was like looking at my mum and my grandmother either side of his grave and thought, they actually can't see him. They can't see him either.
Wow.
So when I was at school, I was aware that it was just myself and my best friend that could see, and also my sister when she were old enough to come to school. But they really, it was very, very, very shocking, and almost like a loss of someone that you've always had, but I've never physically had him. And I really believe that when we connect with a loved one in that way, they are almost like a life guide, because he's still with me now. I still see him exactly the same way that he's always shown himself to me. So it was interesting with spirit as a child, and from that point on, spirit then showed themselves to me even clearer. So
The minute you got in the realization that there were two realities,
yeah,
one that was with other humans that didn't see,
didn't see,
and
yeah,
one with your sister and your friend that did see,
uh-huh.
that must have been confusion.
It was confusing on
Yeah.
the one hand, but it was also quite reassuring on the other hand, because there had been times when I had seen things that didn't match history. So my primary school was actually an old Victorian school building. And so I would see women in Victorian dresses and things like that. And it made sense then that they were from a different time, a previous time, but somehow there was a memory of them there. I have never believed in the word ghost. I don't like that word, you
No.
know, and even when we see apparitions, it's a memory that's reliving rather than the soul of that being stuck or remaining there. And luckily for myself, many of the energies that I've connected with and seen have always been, they've always wanted to be where they've been, which is lovely to have seen.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's been interesting. It's been interesting. There have been times when I'm sure my mum wasn't always um as aware as I was, and she didn't necessarily know what to do, but was always very accepting and very welcoming of these children. I'm the eldest of four, but certainly my sister's very, very psychic, as is my brother. But for him, we have a 5 year difference, so he found it a little bit scary at times.
Hmm.
And then my younger sister, with there's 20 years between the two of us, she's also very intuitive and was very, very, very knowing in her early years, that she would be able to predict when family members would be unwell. There's definitely something that comes through the female line on my mum's side,
Wow.
where all of the women seem to be very open and very intuitive. And I know that intuition and openness is something that we all have access to. but it doesn't feel as though the door's ever been shut on the feminine side of my mum's lineage. So we're very lucky.
Oh wow, that's a nice metaphor as well as because a lot of feminine energy has been repressed, and you just said the door hasn't been shut in my family.
Right.
Like everybody has that, but in some
Yeah.
family lines, it's the door might have been shut.
And it's something that I've experienced with working with my own ancestry as well as assisting others with their ancestry, is that from the women on my mum's side of the family, they've always been brought up fairly religiously. Not my mum, but
Yeah.
her mother, and so on, have always been brought up very religiously. But they have always, and quite extraordinary for their time and generation, have always been very accepting of all religions, all cultures. You know, they've you know, my grandmother is very aware that her reference of source energy may be very different to somebody else's. So although there's been a faithfulness in a greater source, there's never been the exclusion of my opinion, your opinion, or somebody else. It's very, very inclusive, that there's always been an awareness of source not looking the same for everybody, because how could it possibly? We're
No,
all so different,
but
and
it's
all an aspect of that source vibration, then
yes,
source itself is always going to take a different form per person. And I think that that's quite extraordinary about my grandparents, my grandma, her mum, my great granny. She knew when she was going to make her transition. She was 93. She was very, very healthy, but 93, she was just tired and her body couldn't continue any longer. And my grandmother looked after her, and she asked her to call her other daughters round, so they were all round. She was like, "Why have you got us all here?" She was like, "Well, I want us to have I'm gonna go." And they were like, "Oh, mum, don't be silly. You're okay. It's all right. Don't worry." And then they all had dinner together, supported her and got her into bed. And she sat with them all, told them that she loved them, laughed, laid back in the bed, and made her transition.
oh wow, like,
So
like
it's
yeah,
what a beautiful way to be able to transition. And it's something that there's a there's a there's a powerful faith in that, knowing that there's more that's always come through on the maternal side of my family. And I'm hugely, hugely grateful for it. I really, really am.
imagine. How do you cope with it? Because I can imagine, is it also that when you are in a store or in a plane or you always feel sensations?
So now that I have, my school years were always difficult in regards to not the angelic realm or the ascended energies, but more loved ones of other children
Spirits, yeah.
would want me to say things to them. And you know, sometimes you just want to fit in when you're 12 to sort of 16.
Of
You don't
course.
want to stand out. It was already hard work.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't ever easy. And I got to a point at about between 16 and 17, and I said to my mum, like, I've either got something really wrong with me.
Uh,
Do I have a mental health disorder? Is there something wrong with
uh,
me? Or like I needed more confirmation because I'd never not known it differently. It was really hard for me to. So sitting on a bus, as an example, as a child, it's for every person, for every human being, they at least have a minimum of around 3 or 4 energies with them. But certainly there is their guardian angel and their spirit guide. So if every being has at least the two, plus there'll be a loved one, even if it's a great grandparent. It's busy. Buses, trains, planes, classrooms. There's triple the amount of energy beings that are really within that space. And it was quite overwhelming. I was always very tired at
yeah,
school.
I can imagine.
It was quite, and I didn't like school. I couldn't wait to get home. Because it was my house
Yeah.
was just accepting and beautiful.
Safe and
Um,
quiet.
but I went and saw some help from a local medium in the town that I live in. And I was apprehensive and nervous, but I thought I'd got to do this because I need confirmation of some sort. And he opened the door and he went, "Oh, come here," and
Oh,
just gave me a huge hug. He said, "I already know, please know you're not mad." I was like, "Oh, thank God for that." You know, it was such a relief because 16 you just want to be like your peers and things like that. And I was working in a salon as a Saturday girl. So whilst I was shampooing people, I would receive all of this information by touching their crown. I
Wow.
didn't know I was touching their crown.
No.
I just was shampooing their hair. But there was so much information, and I thought, does everyone, do this? And it's certainly something I can see that my mum has always done. And my grandmother has always been in a position of care with regards to her work. Um, but when I saw the local medium who said, you are not mad, you are very open, very intuitive, very psychic, all of the terms that I never know quite which one to pick. I think we're a combination of all things, all of the various clairs that there are, voyance, clairsentience,
Yeah.
gustance, audience, all
Audience.
of that.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
we're a combination of all of those things. So from about 16, I started sitting and meditating. And then from 17, I sat in circle. And at that point, I was then able to turn it on and off like a light switch so
Ah,
that I could say, right, no, enough is enough. And there are times, I'm sure it probably happened in the session that we shared, where I'm quite commanding of saying, right, if you are on this side of the family, you stay to my right. If you are on mum's side, I want you to stay to the left, because you have to be in charge.
yeah. And
Otherwise,
you
it's
felt that strength in you. You were starting to regulate the sensations by feeling that you could control it in a way that it's more convenient and more and better to
absolutely. And spirit often feel, because there is no separation between any of us and anything.
know.
We are just the whole. That when they speak and they communicate and they want to share a message,
They just
they speak as though everyone can hear,
yeah.
without giving me chance to share the message and then hear the next message. So that's why there's often a lot of, please just slow down and let's take it slowly. There's no need to rush. So I'm very, very lucky. I'm in a much better position, but it's some years on now since I was 16, 17. I'm 34 and still meditate and work with, this is my time. I may wish to meditate and I want my team to come in to support me. I don't want to receive messages for other people right now. I can in half an hour or tomorrow, but there has to be my self within that as well, if that makes sense.
So
But
that is
definitely
absolutely
knowing that you can work with them, they're not in charge of me. And I think I thought that as a child because I didn't know a difference, really.
no, I can understand that completely. And I also feel that because I had the same experience. I was even a little bit afraid of all the energies because I
Mhm.
thought they could control me as well. And also because
Yeah.
of all the scary movies and all the scary stories there have been told. They tell you about ghosts and
Ghosts and all of
oh,
those things.
yeah.
And I was very, very lucky that with my grandfather, he would always say, don't watch that, Georgie. Don't. When I'd stay at friends' house, don't do it. Don't do it to yourself because you'll only have more questions and worries after, sorry, no answers. Don't do it to yourself. It's make believe. That is make believe. This isn't make believe.
Wow.
You can trust in this. That is a contorted version
It's
of
so
what.
nice that you had that supporting family, yeah, that it really guided you through all the
Mm,
stages you went through, and
yeah.
we also last time we talked, we also talked about the darkness and the light always being stronger than the darkness and being able to control if you want.
Certainly in my experience with those that I have worked with, even those that have come for assistance that carry a level of darkness,
Yeah,
it's there is always the brightness and the lightness is far more powerful
absolutely.
than the dark. And I understand that there is a balance between the two, and that also almost there is always an equivalent and an equal for an energy. But looking at the vibrational frequency of that, the density of what is dark is so very dense,
Yeah,
far denser than the human experience, even that the light is always more powerful because of its frequency. So
yeah.
even if we had it in two containers and it was the same, the light would be up here and the density would, but having that presence and that ability to rise is making that much more powerful than that density, and it can penetrate the density, and it often does. And for me, that's what healing is.
Yeah, it is. And what about when because I read the book of Christina von Draaien. Maybe you know her. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Twin Soul, and she is able to be in 11 dimensions, which is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely stunning. Um, and she could also channel and get information. She can still do that, of course, but get information from very ancient, wise people, priests, whatever, and use it in this world as well. Now, I
Mm-hmm.
believe everybody's able to be in more dimensional, multi-dimensional levels. And I think a lot of people experience it without being conscious of experience it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is that also something that you started to do when you found out you had that capability of already being open, shift in different consciousness, and get information from wherever it needs to come from?
Yeah, and something that I was shown quite early would be in my dream, that I was often taken to different dimensions or frequencies
While you were sleeping?
whilst I was sleeping,
Okay.
because I would be completely aware of it when I woke up. And it would be something that would be my grandfather would join, who's in spirit state, and I didn't realize was in spirit state,
Yeah.
but he would accompany me through the various dimensions and frequencies. So there would be many, I would all my dreams from my childhood and throughout my youth would never be about my daily life. Very, very rarely. There would obviously feature, but very rarely. It would always be as though I had gone to previous incarnations or to higher existences.
Yeah.
And something that I was shown really early on is that even though I'm Georgina in this lifetime, that the soul essence of you remains the same, but the clothing that you wear is something which continually transforms and alters throughout all lineages, all lifetimes, all existences, and that it's all happening all at one time. So
Yeah.
that was very confusing when I was little
I can
to try and understand it. But then I think that that's what the biggest thing I would say for me that I do is that I don't think about it. I don't think about it at all,
Yeah, you just
because it's not a thinking process.
no
To be able to elevate, to be able to move, it's really about
being.
frequency and being and heart centered rather than it being a thought process. So I don't think about it, and I didn't think about it. And you wouldn't think about it as a child if you've got somebody that you love there that you believe is physical, that's saying it's okay, you can do this. Then you're like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
And so, is there a part of you that also feels the need to teach it to other people? Because there's a lot of advantage when you can see, hear, feel other dimensions and
Mm.
use it in this three-dimensional world we create.
Absolutely. And it's definitely something that I've always felt that I've wanted to share and to support others with. And I I believe I do that in my work and in my one-to-ones, and that's something that I am able to bridge the gap of their own knowing,
Yeah.
something that stops people from really accessing those higher levels of themselves, because it's always an aspect of self that allows for you to go there, if that makes sense.
Yes. What would it be? What would be the advantage of, because if the listeners or the people who are watching this are hearing this and they cannot resonate with that experience yet because
Mm,
they haven't had the experience of feeling angels or seeing colors or feeling
right.
spirits, what would you, why would they want that? Why would they want that?
Because it's absolutely phenomenal. It's glorious. It is beautiful beyond comprehension in terms of we can look out at a landscape or a beautiful sunrise and experience the joy that we have by seeing this. But again, that's to see it evokes the feeling. Whereas when you are elevating through the various dimensions and frequencies, it's not external, it's within the self. And to have that within the self and that knowing is something that's very, very powerful. You really connect, and there's a true belief of what authentic self is, not the body. You know, we are so far more than what we are contained within. But having access to that knowledge and to be able to move through those various layers, kind of, it gives, for me, the way that I see it in a very everyday sense, it feels like there is an advantage of it's another coping mechanism. It allows this life and this experience to go, well, this is this experience. There've been 500 before, there may be 500 after. It just
in perspective.
Puts everything into perspective, because it's difficult to hold perspective when we feel so small as one human being.
Yeah, and identified and attached and just being you in this reality.
And it's going from being a drop in the ocean to knowing that you are the ocean.
Oh wow, yeah, that's
that's how I would explain the feeling of it. And it's not a visual, it's not an imagination, it's an actual within experience that you have when you are in high frequency spaces.
Yeah,
can all access, absolutely we can.
Yeah, and it also sounds like you are the observer of the reality instead of the reality.
Yes.
So that there are no limitations. You can have access to the potential there is.
And that's something that I feel in our human existence, and certainly in mine, I always struggle with what my limitations are and my healing ability. Never do I doubt it for anyone else. I wouldn't ever doubt it when connecting with another person. But as soon as we return to the I and the identification of what this is and what this must mean to be self, we then go, oh, I don't know if I'm sure about that. That's when we start to think that having a close relationship with your spiritual team, welcoming in your guardian angel and your spirit guide, allowing them to be your gatekeepers, may seem like an alien concept to many people, but building a relationship with them allows you to work your way through the ladder of the various frequencies.
To literally go next level. Huh?
Absolutely.
Here and now, but also attached with a higher frequency. So you in contact with a higher frequency, you can shift into a reality that's without pain, or where you can start healing, etc.
It's a beautiful place to be. It really is.
It is. And do you have tips for the people that are interested in starting to, well, just get acquainted with it?
The biggest, which sounds almost ridiculous, is to stop thinking. Now, I know that we have to have thought in order to be able to live. You know, we have to have a logical mind that allows us to live this human experience. But again, we are so much bigger than the human experience. But it really is in moments of contemplation, reflection, enjoyment, whether that be meditation, yoga, playing an instrument, gardening, whatever it may be that you do, allow it to be a space of real feeling, no thinking. Remove the thought process. And it's something.
Start being good at being in the now, in the present moment.
Very, very, very much. Because when you are in the now, which is all we ever really have, is it allows for you to merge with your team. And something that's difficult is your guardian angel has always been with you throughout every incarnation. So they are lifetime, remaining you through each and every single lifetime.
Always the same?
Always the same. Guardian angel is always the same. They are sometimes even assigned to you in your light lifetime before you come into the physical earth plane. But usually it's as you come into the earth space. As a new soul, when you are that first soul, is they remain with you. So for me, working with them for healing, they're able to take us back to many different lifetimes where we can go. But they know all of the yous that you have ever been. They are all knowing, all loving, completely compassionate. But it can be difficult to feel them because they've always been with you, and they've always been ever been. So it would almost be like saying, what's it like to have, legs? you know, and for the most part, most people are, you know, blessed enough to have both their legs. It's difficult to describe something that what's it like to breathe? What's it like to breathe? You know, it's something that we all do and don't pay any attention to, but we would certainly wouldn't be able. For me, that's what the guardian angel energy feels like. Spirit guides chop and change, more like a mentor that you've had from a previous incarnation, but certainly feeling them and allowing yourself to just experience the energy of them.
Can you call upon them? Can you just ask them to make you
Absolutely.
fine, or to be around you, or just to make sure that you can be aware of it? Because what, from my experience, when I first became aware, it was that when the moment when I felt I got information, but I thought it was my head thinking the information, just being analytical and knowing things in my mind. But
Yeah.
then when I started to work with people, sometimes just a name came up that I had to just
Say,
say. And then I thought, why did I just mention that name? Where did that came from?
where did it come
And
from?
yeah, and then the clients would say, "Oh, yeah, that's the one who raped me, or that's the one who." And then I thought, "Oh my God, there's maybe a bigger intelligence than me,"
Yeah.
which is still an ego thing, then of course, because
But we do have to have that ego in order to live a physical human experience. But being aware of it is what allows us to move beyond it so that we can use it for what we need and then we can rise above it, access this. But
and
certainly,
then there's a process of starting to trust that feeling and that information. Because in the beginning, I was like, "Okay, am I going to say it out loud? Am I going to just
can I, should I?
should I? Is
I,
this
un-
right?"
I understand it completely. I understand it completely. And it's something that beginning to get to know your guide team, they never leave ever. Their soul's assignment for this incarnation, for your incarnation, is you. Be it the guardian angel, be it your spirit guide, they are here for you solely, and that's why they are so able to support you and to hold you. Is that their job is to assist. So even by simply thinking, be here, before you've even come to the end of that thought, they're here. Lighting candles is something which always will bring energy, angelic energy into the space. But
Wow.
if people like to work with a more process of physical things to bring them in, then light the candle to.
Oh,
They are already within your
light
space.
a candle and
To light the candle and to simply invoke that space with their energy and ask them, say, I give you permission to come in, guardian angel and spirit guide. You don't have to know their names. That's something that comes later.
because you
But
told me my guardian angel's name. I didn't know her name.
okay.
You told me Lady Nada.
Hmm.
So I looked her up, and she's a very loving. She's really all about light and love and
Very powerful ascended energy, very, very powerful. And it's something that there are many ascended energies that work with many people all at the same time. And Lady Nada is almost in collaboration with your guardian angel. So they are working with your guardian angel also. The best way to get to know them is to have a conversation with
I
them.
just start. Yeah.
As ridiculous, again, that may seem like, how, what?
No,
You know,
I understand it completely. It's the same
but
as saying,
speak to them,
yeah,
speak to them
when I
and
ask
welcome
in
them
my
in.
seminars or events, can you talk with your heart? A lot of people are just going like, what? How? I can't talk with my heart. But once you start to give yourself time and stillness and connect with your heart, you will absolutely find words and senses and that are coming from the heart, because it's their cells with energy, and they can give you information. But that's
I'm
something we are not used to do.
used to doing. Hmm.
We don't.
Certainly with heart resonance, the power of resonance and connection that we have with all realms of existence, whether it be the spirit plane, the ascended energies, angelic, we can go galactic healer even. It is from the heart. The power of the heart is far vaster than the mind, because that's where this egoic concept really sits. And so, as wonderful as the crown chakra is in our ascension process, we do have to overcome that level of ego to be able to recognize the ego.
Yeah.
But we have to have an ego in order to be able to live a human life, and primal protection and all of those things. Resonance is where you are most connected, and something that for me, I always feel that guardian angel and angelic energy tend to stand directly behind you, but side, whereas spirit energy for me have always come in on the right hand side. But placing your hand on your heart immediately connects you to your guardian angel.
Wow.
There is an immediate connection to your guardian angel, and it's something that if you look in life when we're touched or moved by something, if we reference to the sunrise again, we go, oh,
yeah,
because that's the resonance and the connection of the beauty that you're experiencing in the physical world, that your angel is also experiencing this with you. There are so many times, whether it be in power, in happiness, in joy, or in sadness, that it's our chest that we embrace. It's that heart chakra, higher heart center that we're holding when we are moved in whichever way.
Yeah.
Because we're told to physically connect with that space of ourselves without knowing that that's why we're doing that.
That absolutely makes sense. It's the same.
That makes sense.
Yeah, when you're cold, you rub your arms. It's the triple warmer that you actually just activate. The energy is getting higher, so you get warmer. And we haven't been educated about it, which is why we think we're not able, but it's not that hard. Just start with it.
Absolutely.
Put on the candles, be still, talk to whoever spirit, whatever energy there is. Don't be afraid. Your light will always shine. So,
absolutely. And the team that holds you are only of the light.
Yeah.
They are only of the light. They can only be of the light in order to be supportive energies.
Yeah.
And so, for me, this sounds quite sentimental. I suppose it is quite sentimental. But for me, whether it be friends, I'm very lucky with my family and my friends. I'm very blessed. But, trust is something that we don't always have in ourselves. There may be friends that lose trust in us, or our friendships, as an example. They shift and change, and there's so much in life which alters as it's supposed to. And those changes can sometimes rock us. But your team are solid. They are, it's like laying against the most mighty oak tree that you could possibly lean against. That they are so secure and grounded for you, even though they are extremely ethereal. Their connection here to you and the earth plane is a solid. When you've maybe lost trust or faith in yourself or others, now you have them to turn to. You are never alone, ever.
Does it make a difference, Georgina, if you are not aware? Because it almost sounds like that you can consciously ask for their help whenever you need it, and that will make it easier. Like if you're not conscious, are there not so around you, or are there more?
No, it makes no difference.
No, it doesn't make any difference.
Not in my personal experience, or the experience that I've had with those that I've worked with healing or coaching, is that the presence and the strength of their teams are in equal measure with them, whether their energy strengthens and intensifies with various qualities depending upon what the individual may need. And then there is a greater sense of presence when you're in communion with them.
Yeah, because what I'm referring to is, what if you can, when if you're not able to receive the message, like for example when you're feeling ill or not so in a high energy, and you can call up on your angels or your guardian angels or your team and ask them to give you information or insights or healing or sending you loving power. I call it my sanctuary. I'll just go back to my sanctuary and let myself being treated.
Absolutely. And there's a trust there. There's a trust in yourself to know that that's correct and that that's right. And also a belief that your team are doing this for you. Because for me, most of this comes down to, when we have those questions, it's about worth.
Yes.
Am I worthy of being supported and healed by my team or anyone? You know,
Yes.
that yes, there is a huge worth. Your team know it completely, but having belief in them, the more you communicate with them, the
Yes.
more you call in, the more you'll see them and recognize their signatures. Because not only will it be an energy signature,
Mm.
for me, my guardian angel has a very, very, it's like a she has, although they are androgynous and have no gender, they do appear as either more masculine or more feminine. For me, she's a female. She has a very, like the way like rainfall feels on
Yeah.
your skin. That's how her energy feels. But there's also a scent, and it's a very outdoorsy, quite a woodland pine smell that she comes
Oh, you can
in with.
smell
So there
her.
is, so you can smell them, you can feel them, you can receive them, and it's whenever there is if there's an indecision or if there is a quandary over are they here and they're helping. Again, hand on heart center and just ask, are you here? And it totally removes you and takes you above the ego. And you can almost sort of recline into their energy
So that
and knowing.
so if I understand you correctly, that the intention of your team is always as strong and as beautiful and as loving and as healing. If
Absolutely.
if you have trust, if you are able to communicate, if you are more able to be aware and receive, that will help in the healing speakness then in the healing.
Yes.
Yes. So that's what I was meaning. And that doesn't, the intention is always loving and healing, but are you
Absolutely.
able and willing? Do you allow yourself to
Yeah.
be healed? Can you receive it?
Hmm.
That's the key.
Yes.
Ah, so oh wow, that's and if there that's I got a strange question, but
No, no, go for it.
when I was younger, I had a lot of I don't know the English word affiniteit, compassion
Yeah.
with some historical, for example, um, what's her name? I'm so stupid. I can always say her name, and now I
It's
can.
okay. No, don't worry. Don't worry.
Um, God. The woman who was a witch and got on the fire, she was burned. She was in
Oh,
France, uh,
yeah.
and well, so stupid. I always know her name, and I can.
And you can't think of her name, and neither can I, so don't worry. But
Yeah,
I know exactly, I know who you are referencing because it's very much in history.
yeah,
And so something that I have been shown from a very early age is that whenever there has been a interest, there is always more than an interest.
yeah. That's what I feel.
There is always more than an interest. It's something that there will be a previous connection that you have from that energy of that person or to the space. It may have been a previous lifetime that was shared, but there is certainly there is definitely a connection. And something in my experience, when from very early on in my life, I always felt as though I had a connection to, I knew that it was a stream and it wasn't a river. I knew it was a stream. I knew it wasn't a river, but I knew that it was well, it ran through Stonehenge in the UK,
Oh yeah, I've
and
been there.
a very, very powerful energy space. And when I went and visited, I felt the energy, the power, the beauty, heart chakra, of the planet, amazing space. But there was no stream, and I couldn't believe it. And I was like, "Where's the stream?" But the stream is actually the Chalice Wells in Glastonbury. And as I sat there and looked, and this was quite recent, this was when I was about 30, I was taken right back. And all of the memories of myself dreaming in the stream, being in the stream, using the stream, bottling the water, making elixirs, all of these things that I had seen in my childhood, I was like, it's here. This is where this is. I knew that there was a connection that wasn't too distant away from Stonehenge, but I thought that it was in my child mind, but certainly found it in my adult life. And it's just definitely, it's a powerful reminder that even those that have an interest,
Yeah.
whether it be Egypt, ancient Egypt,
Mhm.
it may be Greek goddesses, whatever, with ever any historical connection, there will
You know, there's
usually
more
be a
to it.
past lifetime. Absolutely.
It could even be that when you are afraid in this physical life for something you cannot relate to because you feel like that I don't need to be afraid. I haven't experienced anything that could have made me this afraid. That it
Mm.
could also be something more from an ancient cell memory or energy
Absolutely, that needs some clearing. It gives you the opportunity to clear and to release it.
that's
And
right.
by being guided by your team, it really assists the process
Mm,
because you're not doing it on your own. You would never be doing it on your own, but when you have the awareness of your team, even if you don't see them physically, I'm very lucky that I'm able to see them physically as well as energetically. And they don't walk around looking like see-through ghosts or anything like that that's depicted. You know, they're very much of form, depending upon their ascension process. But certainly having that connection, it allows they unravel more for you. And with your guardian angel having been with you through all of your incarnations, they really are able to kind of fast track us back to that lifetime when you were potentially being burnt at the stake with the witches in France,
yeah.
to be able to say we can release this pain. We were there, we witnessed this, we knew that you had essentially signed up for that experience in that incarnation, but we can now thank ourselves and say, yeah, I've learned this. I don't have to go through this again. The past, whether it be the relevant past, the recent past, or a past life, does not have to be a precursor for the future. And your team will absolutely assist with the understanding of that.
So there's the same nice tool that we have. Just allow yourself and be open to it, that there might be more than you think there is. And
Oh,
then you're releasing yourself from pain or anxiety or frustration or depression or karma, because it might not be created in this lifetime. And
mhm,
if you're willing to be open to it, you're also willing to release it and heal it.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
So interesting talking to you. It's really so inspiring. I have a theme that I always do. It's called veelzijdig, which means that I give you a choice and then
Okay.
you have to say one or the other. You cannot say both.
Right. Okay. I will try my best.
Yes, and then of course you can always come back to when we can talk about one. If you say, "Well,
Uh-huh.
I had to say this, but I also feel that," you can just explain yourself. So let's
Uh-huh.
do it. Medium or channeler?
Channeler.
Happy or healthy?
Happy.
Doing or being?
Being.
Being. Sweat lodge or ice bath?
Sweat lodge.
Awareness or ego?
Awareness.
Naive or open-minded?
Open-minded.
Believing or seeing?
Believing.
Therapy or self-reliance?
Therapy.
Pure nature or natural?
My team are talking now, and I'm trying to not listen to what they're saying.
Let them answer. They're welcome. They're welcome to answer.
Pure nature. Was it pure nature or
Yeah,
pure nat?
nature or
Okay.
natural.
Yeah, pure nature.
Yes. And regular or alternative?
Regular.
Hmm. Meditation or hypnosis?
Meditation.
Follow your dreams or success is a choice?
Follow your dreams because then success will be your choice.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, I'm fine. Awake or asleep?
Awake.
Life chooses for you or you choose life?
You choose life.
Left or right?
Left.
Healing power or vaccination?
Healing power or vaccination was that?
Yeah.
Healing power.
Nature or nurture?
Oh, say them again for me.
Yes. Nature or nurture?
Nurture.
Nurture. And yes or no?
Yes.
Ah. Nice. How was that for you to
Yeah,
choose?
not difficult, not difficult, because for many of them they allow all to be experienced. And with the regular or the alternative, for me, it feels as though my team are going, what? As I'm saying this, and it's because in terms of it, not necessarily looking at holistic therapies or medicine or anything like that, but in terms of just individual, the more we believe that we're alternative, the bigger the gap that we create for separation. Realizing that in our own uniqueness, we're all very
Yeah.
regular because we're none of us are the same. And does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand it.
That
What
there's
I understand is that you say every conscious level, every energy is regular
is regular
and
for
needs
that level.
for that
Yeah,
level needs to be accepted to even be able to shift to another level or grow or personally grow. So there is no
absolutely.
alternative besides being who you are. That's what I understand from your explanation, which is
Hmm.
really nice, beautiful. And what about life chooses for you, or you choose life?
I think we choose life. I do. I think we choose life. For me, I feel like as much as I believe, and I've learned that my experience is certainly a gift in what I can share. But I believe that the gifts that all of us have are plentiful. Everyone has their own gift. There is a there is a gifting that all souls carry through our experience. And it's something that it's very much, I feel like I was on a level sort of born to share. And there are many that are born to share their gifts, be it musicians, great teachers, poets, in whatever we're sharing, that you are born to do what you are to utilize those gifts for,
Mm.
but you can still also choose life. It's not set in these very rigid boxes. You can be born to do something. You can be born to be a great athlete and still choose life and not have that navigate life for you. You navigate that life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and does that also, yeah, you navigate and you can always act and react. That's what I.
Yeah.
And is there also, because a lot of people say that a spirit, you choose your parents.
Yes,
Do you also believe that then, of
I
course?
do, definitely.
And that because
Definitely.
there's when I do the events, the healing events, a big part of it is forgiving parents, forgiving
Hmm.
parents, and the times that they were not, they didn't get what they needed, that they weren't heard, seen, ignored, and the
Hmm.
pain that caused it
Mm.
separated the souls from each other and made them
Hmm.
judgmental. So because of my parent, he abused me, he raped me, or she hit me, or she
Hmm.
always said I was not good enough. Um, then for them, it's hard to hear the fact that they choose those parents
Mm.
who made them the victim, who did all that shitty stuff to them,
Horrible stuff, yeah.
horrible stuff.
And so for me, what I have experienced in channeling spirit energy is that those that I open up when I work with anybody individually in a way that allows the everything and the anything of the most powerful positive energy to come through, certainly within that angelic Reiki vibration. But it allows for loved ones to come in and those that have the most powerful message. And I don't believe I've ever received a message from spirit. They may still very much be intact to aspects of their personality, but with regards to what they come in to share is to thank their children for choosing them. They thank them for choosing them, for having the experience with them, apologizing that they were not of the knowledge that they needed at that time, but they recognize it now. They're not sharing it to, let themselves off the hook. They're sharing that to say thank you, and that this is because that soul of that child chose those parents to change the ancestral patterning and line so that it doesn't move forwards with them into the next generation and so on and so on. So there
Okay.
is always a space of gratitude and an apology that comes in from that parental side of spirit energy when connecting with their children.
Yeah, they were not capable of doing a difference.
No,
They are thankful that their child mirrored them and break through that negative energy that was in their family line for a long period. And that's
very
still,
much.
yeah. And so actually, when they can see that as a compliment, then that the
Hmm.
more you experience the powerful, the more powerful you are to break through. Otherwise, you wouldn't have
Absolutely.
chosen that specific
They'd have,
thing.
they'd have never chosen those parents if they hadn't got the power, to
Actually,
overcome that adversity.
so actually, when we make the circle round in this conversation, then it's all about trust in your own power, trust in that healing power, trust in your team, and that you're more than the physical experiences that you have here. And
Absolutely.
if we all would learn that from really young ages, then we would all be. That would be such a different world.
It would be a very, very different world. And for me, it feels as though it's a completeness, because it's like scratching what we know and what we're shown and what we're taught in our modern world, through education and governments and whatnot. It's like it's not even scratching the surface on
Mm,
the whole of a being.
actually,
It's such a tiny, tiny amount that
yeah.
when you allow yourself to trust in the team, and that continued trust that allows you to elevate, you find that there is so much more, and complete connectedness, to feel really what wholeness feels like, regardless of any illness which is attached to the egoic mind, because that's where for me illness lives, or disharmony, rather than it actually being something, although it's expressed in the physical body or potentially the mental plane. It's something that is more, it's not the soul, it's
Mm,
not the spirit, it's not the energy. It's the egoic aspect which experiences that. So as we are able to rise above that, there's much more acceptance of self
yeah.
and of others.
And
So
no
it's a
more
much more
duality.
harmonious place
Yeah.
to be.
No more duality and good or right or
Yeah,
wrong. Well, to end this beautiful, beautiful podcast session, which I feel so blessed having you in.
as do I. Thank you very much for
Oh,
having me.
so beautiful. But if finally, if your team is speaking to you right now, or
Mhm.
your beautiful spirits, and they already know the listeners and the people who are going to see this,
Mhm.
what would be the ultimate quote or lesson or something that to inspire the public that you could just end up this session with as a gift? What could it be?
So life is an experience on all of its levels, emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally, and the various planes of existence that we can experience. Life is an experience which is to be felt, not thought. So, in order for yourself to really flow with the potential of your life, it's to feel your way through, not thinking your way through. Life is to be felt, not thought. That's what my team have always shared with me. And I believe it. And I feel very lucky to have been able to listen to that and to hear that repeated, because we do feel everything. Allow yourself to feel everything. We are what put an association on what's bad or good or negative. Don't worry about that. Allow yourself to feel it, but life is to be felt, not thought. Feel your way through your experience and allow yourself to be led by your heart, because that's where your team speaks strongest. Even if you can't hear them or unaware of them, that's where you receive their resonance and energy. So feel your way through, and life will be a very blessed journey.
Wow. Well, nothing else to say. That's a very beautiful ending of this session. So thank you so much. And all the listeners and the viewers, thank you for listening or watching. And and we know it, you're more capable of whatever you think you are, and you are healing power. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Namaste.